I then asked Harald about the existence of a coordinated group trying to deliberately affect timelines. A very talkative Harald Malmgren went noticeably silent.
Harald, do you think your life is connected with time travel in any way?
I've thought about this many times, and my answer is yes. Nothing else explains. When I talked to that MIT professor, I didn't have the slightest inhibition. I was talking as if I knew something. I don't know why I know it. I know it. And in fact, what I did say was breaking through what was no knowledge at that time. So, if you ask me, did I have a purpose? Yes.
At MIT, Compton was heavily involved in the famous RAD lab and its development of American radar. His top technical aide was John Trump. If you recognize that name, it's because John Trump is the late uncle of our current sitting president, Donald Trump. And John Trump was charged with investigating Tesla's files that were confiscated by the FBI to see if they'd confer any tactical warfare advantages to the United States. One of Trump's last interviews was also featured in a documentary on Thomas Townsend Brown's Philadelphia experiment.
But I was particularly looking for something which would just be evidence of a secret weapon, which was a matter of concern to the United States.
Real quick, Harald, I do want to stick on the Townsend Brown Tesla collaboration. Right. So do you know anything about the nature of that collaboration?
About anti-gravity motion.
Well, Tesla's another guy. He said he communicated with aliens in Colorado Springs, and people just, I think they assume that's the quacky part of his work or whatever. They assume that that's ridiculous or whatever. But he said that and so, and then Townsend Brown would constantly talk about space brothers and communication with aliens. He would sleep next to what he called a shortwave radio. He claimed that was how he communicated with them.
Truth is so hard to tell, it sometimes needs fiction to make it plausible. Zahn wrote a book in 2012. The book discusses a celestial object that telepathically communicates with its recipients. The object also relays critical information about future timelines. A secret committee is brought together by synchronicities and extraterrestrial beings that seem to know about every one of its members. The committee are an elite group of military and scientific thinkers designated to deal with the issue of non-human intelligence. The main character of the book is a mathematical whiz kid named Chalmers, who is plucked by the head honchos of the Office of Strategic Services, and then this special committee. He helps the committee navigate the future of humanity and manage complex timelines. He's also taken in and out of a liminal, timeless dominion where he's taught important things by otherworldly beings that go to determine his purpose in life.
The story that I like most is Tim Taylor brought a piece of the Roswell crash, put it in Chris's hand and others in the family, and Chris showed an enormous, unexpected reaction. And Taylor's response to Chris being impacted so heavily by this UFO material was, "Why you? I don't understand."
The second missing detail here is that when Harald was holding the UFO pieces Lawrence Geis had given him, they seemed to telepathically communicate with him.
What I found just so fascinating is Tyler tells the Bledsoes that he was involved with a group that was based in Nassau in the Bahamas, and Townsend Brown was the president of this group, and time travel technology was involved.
This term keeps coming up over and over again that I keep hearing, and the term is jump room. No, I've heard about Tim Taylor being in the jump room, Grant Cameron being in a jump room, and
I doubt one part of your statement. Grant does not know a fact in all of this that he does not tell everybody. So if Grant had been in a jump room, you would know about it.
Yeah, that's what he said. He told me, or said it. I think he said it in the podcast. That's how I heard about it. Was the jump? I never heard of that term.
I did not know he had been in a jump room. I missed that part.
I'm pretty sure. Grant,
then we got to get into the story about Tim Taylor telling me about the jump room at LAX. That's the,
dude. Yes. Okay. We are definitely going to do another one here. I'll send down.
The looking glass has an ability to show one the future, but a Stargate or equipment that accesses a Stargate or wormhole is for time travel, right? We're talking about two different things.
Yes.
Are they using the same technology?
Essentially, yes.
The original looking glass, back engineered from alien technology?
Yes. We had a basic monopoly over the looking glass, that and India. India brokered early on with Indira, when Indira Gandhi was brokering the Committee of the Majority between the United States and the Soviet Union, because the Soviets were threatening to start their own treaty system up with the extraterrestrials, which would have become untenable. We agreed then to expand MJ12 from a wholly operated and owned American operation to an international operation, and thus was born the Committee of the Majority between 1963 and 1967.
Have been using the moniker Majestic in its counterintelligence context. Absolutely. But he used the word so secondhand, so casually, that he was clearly speaking about some genuine group, in my opinion. A group probably related to continuity of government and contingency plans. Contingency plans for general catastrophes like nuclear events, not just extraterrestrials. These sorts of committees have gone by many names: 5412, the 303 Committee, the Committee of 40, and they probably involve subcommittees we'll never know the names of.
Small group of people that are all interconnected.
Yes.
Interest in biology or science in general?
That started after what I found out much later was in fact an abduction experience at Maple Park. That's
the leader of the group who was authorized to train me, but yet his status didn't seem very official around there during the time of my study there. It was almost as if he was brought in from elsewhere, and I'm not certain where he worked prior to SUNY, but it was like he was brought in from somewhere else and to facilitate the training, and with a particular focus and a particular regimen for the training. What these guys did is they made sure that I was in fact certified and mastered and was able to theorize concerning the chemistry of glycoproteins and proteoglycans.
Then to live it, this is what I felt like happened to me. So in 2012, after I started the study of UFOs, I recognized that the management of that message of the UFO for the American public had been organized not just from the 1940s, but really from earlier, from early 20th century. And once I started to recognize and even meet the people who were responsible for managing this in a very cohesive, tight way, very specific, that's when I recognized that it was that, I felt it. I guess that's the difference, was that before I just saw it on the sideline, like we talk about it now, you and I, and it looks like we're talking about it from the sideline. We're saying, yeah, this is really bad, what they're doing and stuff. But I was part of it. I saw it. I know those people. They talked to me about it. They talked to me about why they were doing it. And they said, Diana, you don't want to help these people. They would kill you if you had something that they wanted. Like, these are not good people, is what they were saying about
these people specifically.
The general population. They were talking about the general population.
The general population would kill you.
That's what they were saying. They were saying that these people only do good because they have to do good. They are actually bad. And so this was the argument I was getting.
The story that I like most is Tim Taylor brought a piece of the Roswell crash, put it in Chris's hand and others in the family, and Chris showed an enormous, unexpected reaction. And Taylor's response to Chris being impacted so heavily by this UFO material was, why you? I don't understand. Why you? And they tell that story all the time.
Why you, like in a suspicious way?
Why you in a curious way. Not negative, just curious.
And his son as well, right? Is the connection there.
There are multiple members of that family that have really unique abilities.
I got to get out there. Yeah, we had a good interaction.
We should go down. I'm supposed to go down and show him some new cameras.
When are you going?
I'll let you know, so we'll just go together and maybe you can video it.
Field trip.
Field trip.
I love it.
He heard words in his head when he felt the pieces. This is a very common trope in UFO world when it comes to people handling material firsthand. Malmgren forgot the exact words, but he felt like they were important, and that the material may have implanted ideas in his subconscious. He also apparently thought that this was a test that Lawrence Geis had given him. He wanted to see if Harald would have this mental reaction to the pieces. Harald apparently passed. Once Harald passed Lawrence Geis's test and realized there was far more to this tag-along UFO phenomenon than met the eye, Malmgren had clearly graduated from his role as the missile cost assessment guy. He needed to get fully read in. That's when he received a full briefing on otherworldly technologies by Richard Bissell.
started within the next couple of years after that. I didn't have any interest in science. Within a couple of years after that experience, my interests began to change. They began to change rapidly. But the aptitude was not normal for what I considered the young boy at the time.
Your age bracket.
Right.
So you found your circles and you started to thrive.
Well, they found me.
Ah.
The circles found me because, well, it was not members of the department who walked in. There was one gentleman who walked in wearing a suit. Another gentleman that was LJ. I subsequently knew him during the entire 20 years. He ended up becoming the aide-de-camp to MJ1. We called him Little John because he was a large gentleman, and we called him also Little John because he was the aide-de-camp to the person whose first name is John.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about Majestic 12, one of the first members of Majestic 12.
He was considered the moral compass.
Okay. So they walked in, and what did they say to you, I wonder?
Well, the second gentleman was wearing a clear naval uniform. The third gentleman was wearing what appeared to be a half uniform, half suit. Mm-hmm. He had some unusual buttons up on his collar, and to this day, I don't know who the gentleman was. I said, "Can I help you?" And the LJ said to me, "Yes, I think you can."
I look back and I'm like, how the heck did you end up at age 27 being the joint liaison between the Joint Chiefs and the President of the United States National Security Council under Bob McNamara and JFK, just as the Cuban Missile Crisis is beginning?
I was not carried as a normal student at SUNY, and there seemed to have been an overall purpose, a very focused purpose to my being there. And the focused purpose was actually dealing with glycoproteins. Now later on, antifreeze proteins and antifreeze glycoproteins become an important theme having to do with the J-rod and the particular pathology with which we struggled.
Now, the book that you had to subsume, was this about glycoproteins?
Yes, it was called The Biochemistry of Glycoproteins and Proteoglycans, and it was authored by Bill.
So one of your professors actually wrote the book that you had to absorb and become intimately familiar with.
Yes.
And he was part and parcel of the group that was authorized to train you.
He seemed to be the leader of the group who was authorized to train me, but yet his status didn't seem very official around there during the time of my study there. It was almost as if he was brought in from elsewhere, and I'm not certain where he worked prior to SUNY, but it was like he was brought in from somewhere else and to facilitate the training, and with a particular focus and a particular regimen for the training.